Hello and welcome to the cutting of this soap. This particular soap is scented with lavender and cedarwood and contains oatmeal. You can see the lavender and the oats on the top there. I made 3 loaves of this soap plus a little bit extra in a different mold that I'll show you in a bit. But in this video, I thought some people would be interested in seeing how I was able to cut these loaves of soap evenly without the use of a commercial soap cutter because they can be so expensive, and I myself have not yet been able to invest in one. And when I make soaps just for my family, it doesn't matter if they're even, and I just kind of cut it willy-nilly, and that's always been fine. But because I'm going to be selling these this fall and Christmas season for Christmas gifts and things, I wanted to make sure they were perfectly even. So this is kind of the method that I came up with the minimal tools I had on hand, so I didn't have to spend any extra money, was putting it on this sewing mat that I actually don't use anymore because I upgraded. So this one is now just going to be for soap making. And I had to line it up very carefully on the line and adjust it when it shifted, and I had to make sure it was level. That was the issue I came across, was I realized I was lining it up on the lines perfectly, but it wasn't perfectly level straight up and down, which I fixed on like the second and third loaves that I did. But this actually worked pretty good. A couple of them, that one like didn't get the line dark enough, so I went back in again. You can kind of see the lines here, but they were just enough that you can fit the soap cutter back into that groove and cut straight down. And it was really, really handy just having that already marked out for me. And then I tried to cut straight down, definitely really difficult to again keep the cutter level and go straight down. But if you know that you're looking for that, and you know that that's what you're paying attention to, is trying to keep it level, and you have that in mind, and you kind of use the lines below as a guide and the previous cut next to it as a guide, you do get the hang of it. So I think I'll have better luck the next time that I try it out. And as you can see, me cutting this is sped up a little bit. Keep that in mind too. This was a very slow process because I was trying to be so careful and so gentle. It probably took me about an hour and 15 minutes to cut 3 loaves, and not just cut, but cut and process all of them. You'll see later what I mean by that, but there were some, I had to weigh them all to make sure they were all within the proper range of one another. Because with homemade soap and handmade soap, you're never going to get all your bars to be exactly the same weight. That's just not reality. Even if you had a commercial soap cutter, there's going to be variations in weight. So I wanted to make sure all my bars were within a certain range, and any that were not within that range basically got cut up into smaller bars for making sample packs with multiple scents. And I can show you that a little bit later, but yeah, I went super slow cutting these and was very careful and took my time, so it took a long time. But this is sped up at 1.5 times speed, so not too crazy, but it definitely did go a little bit slower than this. So if you go to try this, don't be discouraged if you're like, how did she do it so fast? Trust me, it wasn't fast the first time I did it either. So, and I'm starting to notice that my cutter's getting really gummed up and it's causing streaks in the soap. I tried to scrape it off, that didn't work. So what I ended up doing was actually getting a damp paper towel and essentially washing it clean every like 4 or 5 bars that I cut, because it really was adding some run lines into my soap that were not the attractive look I was going for. Like, there's homemade, and then there's like, there's artisan, and then there's like, oh, that's homemade, I tested out beveling the edges, and I didn't love it at first, so I left all of my bars unbeveled besides this one. In the future, I might bevel them, but because that's what all the soap makers do to make them look a little more clean cut. But I don't know. I don't know that it really added all that much to it. Maybe. I don't know. but I feel like I can get the same effect just gently rubbing my thumb across the edges to kind of smooth it so there's nothing like sticking up or anything, like extra flyaways on the edges or anything. But I don't know that beveling them adds a lot, and it's going to create a lot of excess soap waste and soap that the customer doesn't get to have, so I may just leave them. I really struggled with that last bar. The bar on the end is the worst. It's the hardest to get clean, and so that sometimes ends up being a sacrificial bar, which is kind of sad because I would like to get as many bars as possible out of this to recoup my cost and actually make a profit. But you can see I cut that one in half and then in half again. Later I turn them on their sides to get a more even cut, but I figured that would be a good size for a sample bar, and you can get 4 sample bars out of 1 regular bar of soap. I love this shot of the soap because you can see all the variations of the drop swirl in them. I didn't use any equipment. I didn't swirl it with a hanger or anything like that. I literally just poured the soap into it. So I put the one soap as the base, and then the 2 colored soaps, the white and the pink, I kind of just poured it straight into the mold to kind of drop it inside the other color, and it turned out so beautiful, and I love the variations. And here I decided to weigh them all and just get an idea, and like if they were bigger than I was looking for, they went in one pile. If they were smaller than I was looking for, they went in a different pile, and if they were right on, then they went in a different pile. So the ones that are too big or too small make sample bars, and the ones that are right on actually get sold as a full bar. Sometimes if they're too big, I've been trying to kind of whittle them down slightly to the correct range and then being able to sell that as a whole bar. But the ones that are too small, you can't add soap. That's it. And sometimes if they're a little too big, I will just put them in the pile anyways, and somebody gets a little extra soap. I don't think anybody will be upset about getting extra soap. Hopefully not, at least. So I put those in a cardboard box behind me where I'm going to stash them to dry and cure for 4 weeks. Sorry, I'm doing all that off screen. You can see this one is so small and wonky and just like got cut so wrong. So this one is being chopped up. This one's so small, like that one piece you can see on the other side is so small that like 2 of these pieces were big enough to be sample bars, and the other 2 are actually going to be like just for our personal soap stash. Any oopsies that don't work out or little shavings, I'm just like filling bags, soap bags for my own personal soap stash for my family of 6 because we go through a lot of soap. Oh, I love this shot of all the little sample bars that I collected. They're so beautiful. I love the Artisan look with the natural clays for the colorant. I did not use any artificial anything. These are scented with essential oils, lavender essential oil, cedarwood essential oil, and then ground up oat flour, organic, to make it really nice for your skin. And then the colorants, I only used rose clay for that rosy pink deep color. I used white kaolin clay for that creamy white color. And then that green color on the bottom is kind of a mystery because it is alkanet root powder, which can make any color from pink to red to purple. So it's green right here. And I'm curious to see if it stays green because that was not one of the color options, or if it will change as it cures to be one of the colors that I more expected it to be, because that happens a lot with natural colorant from plants. Like over time, the color will settle different than what you see it as right after it's added to the soap, because it's just been kind of cooked and gone through this chemical process and takes a minute to go through all the phases of soap curing and actually settle on the color. So it's really beautiful right now as like this brownish green. So I wouldn't mind if it stayed that color, but if it changes, that'd be okay too. But it's really fun and unpredictable sometimes to work with natural colorants, and I think this just turned out beautiful. Oh, here you can see a side view of me adding those lines and kind of what it looks like. I know that cutter kind of blocks a lot of the view, and you can see my hand shaking right before I like actually press in the cut. There you can see I can use the previous cut as a way to level the next cut, and that is really helpful. And I keep like shifting and adjusting, and if you do it wrong when you make these little indentations, it's not hard to go back and kind of be like, that one doesn't look right, I'm gonna just change it. And you really don't see it in the final bar because it's right on that edge. So I just really wanted to show that you can do this without a commercial cutter that's gonna cost you $300. I don't understand why they cost that much. It blows my mind, but people are willing to pay it because it does save you a lot of time. I'm gonna say that. Like, you can see me struggling here. It does save you a lot of time. I would love to upgrade someday, but right now there's no profits to pay for that. So I have to wait until there is. You could see that previous bar had those streak marks. That was from not cleaning off the cutter in time, and that's kind of how I figured out I needed to be cleaning it off between every few bars. These cute little sample bars are my absolute favorite. These little guys are individual soaps. Little pocket soaps is kind of what I'm calling them. These are the leftover shavings that'll go in my personal soap stash for my family. I think we will have so much soap. It'll last us years from making all this soap. Okay, that's it. I hope that this was helpful for someone who's starting out and struggling trying to cut their soap and don't have the money to invest in a commercial cutter. So happy soaping, and I hope you have a great day.